people can think, sometimes people think that your thinking is to replace actuality or reality. No, it's not. Thinking is a tool to further your spiritual growth, but it's not to stymie or to belittle your growth, because growth is whole, holistic, and that needs to involve spirit, mind, and body working together. And one of the reasons that I advocate spiritual practices is because in a spiritual practice, you're getting them all at one time. The spirit, your mind, and your body are having to work in correlation. When you're just reading, your body's not doing anything. Your mind is, focused on what you're reading, but it's an intellectual act. It's not whole learning. And part of the reason that a lot of people are not successful in certain areas of their life, and one I'm going to talk about predominantly is financial prosperity. Mm-hmm. The reason that a lot of people never experience financial prosperity is because they've read about it. They've had people talk about it. Mm-hmm. They see all the infomercials on TV where people talk about you can be this and you can be that, and they get motivated, inspired, and the problem is they get expired because they get tired of all the hype. But they wasn't given and no results because they had no mentor, someone to show them how to actually become financially independent.
So are you a results-oriented type ministry, or?
In my school, I'm going to use this one example, and of course I teach ministers. Mm-hmm. My prerequisite is the thing you teach that you have become it before you teach it. It's not so much academic, whether you made an A, a B, or C, or a D. It's did you master in your own life what you're teaching? Because if you did not master it in your own life, you're not a preacher. Mm-hmm. See, a lot of people think a preacher is somebody who can get up in front of people and give a discourse or a lecture on a subject. Mm-hmm. That's not preaching. That's just giving a discourse. But a preacher, if you really want to know the deep meaning of preaching, is your living. Mm-hmm. See, what you live is what you tell in the world you practice. So whatever you practicing is your preaching. So a true preacher can do what he practices.
So are you a true preacher?
I'm a true preacher all the way down to the bone. And I'm not going to sit and talk about something I don't know anything about. And so that's the problem. That's why a lot of people are having problems. But no, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to show the person. It's not about what I've done. That's for me. I'm the benefactor. What I've done ain't benefacting the other person until they learn what it is they need to accomplish financial independence for themselves. I can't get in their body, but I can give them the practice that they can practice, and the practice will put in their body everything that they need so it becomes a part of who they are. And so they can become financially independent by their practice, not by reading it and studying it, because reading and studying it is an aspect, but the ultimate aspect is the practices. Do they know the practices that will produce financial independence? Do they know the practices that will produce a happy family life? Do they know the practices that will eliminate the drama they're having with other people and the conflicts and falling out, and how to deal with people that have this kind of personality, and how to deal with this kind of person, and who to deal with and who not to deal with? All that comes through practice. You can't read about life. Mm-hmm. And that's why in the book of Genesis, God said, from the tree of life, you can freely eat anytime you want. But the tree of knowledge, I forbade you not to eat of that tree. Because when you do, you will surely die. We wasn't talking a physical death. That means you will start to focus on what people say. You'll start to focus on what your senses see. And you will take your attention away from who you really are, the spiritual man I created you to be. So now you have an excuse to be less and what God created you to be, which is the best. That's spiritual. Nowhere in the King James Version will you see the word human. But people say, oh, I'm a human being. Where'd they get that from? It's what man has taught them they are. A human. So they see things from a human point of view. Nowhere in the King James Version will you see the word human. If you do find it, let me know. It'll be a first for me. But I haven't. And I've read it frontward, backwards. I've looked every place. But carnal mindedness is that which focuses on external. And when you focus on the external, what you focus on becomes a God. What you give your attention to becomes a God. I'm dealing with that question you asked me what God is. See, people don't know what God is. God can be what you give predominance in your life. You make a God of many things. So when you ask me the question, God is relative to the person. Some people don't make their spiritual self a God. Some people don't even know they have a spiritual self. Most people think they ain't got God till they go to the building and the spirit jumps on them from this way. You know, I'm going to go to church, boy, the spirit going to jump on me. I'm going to be in the spirit because the spirit was in that place. Not knowing that the spirit was already with them when they went in the building. But no, I got to get the running man on. I got to hoop, howl, and shoot and shout, and then the spirit going to come down on me, and I'm going to be washed in the blood. That's what people think. A lot of people think the spirit is.
This is Lady B of Lady B Living, empowering you to create values that maximize your net worth in all areas